This video is to show how to move from version 2 of BallRun to version 3 of BallRun. For version 3 of BallRun, we're going to add some mountains to make the ball follow a preset path. Every time you add mountains to the terrain, they will come out different from any other time you add mountains to the terrain. As a result, your work will look different from what is shown in this video. Just keep in mind, the goal is to add mountains to make the ball follow a preset path. What you're seeing here is where I left off with my version of BallRun 2. Your view does not have to match mine. Just set it up so that you can see what is happening to your terrain. Okay, now the first thing I'm going to do with this is to go through and remove the cubes that we placed towards the end. The cubes were just there so we would have something to play with the ball. About the easiest way to do this is to go over to main scene, and in main scene I'm going to find where I've got all of my little cubes stacked up over here, and I'm going to go through and delete them. So I'm going to select a cube, press the delete key, and it's gone. So it's a real simple pattern. Press select the cube, press delete, select the cube, press delete, and do that for every cube that you have on yours. Okay, now then, here's my ball, and let me select it, or sphere. I haven't renamed it ball in this one. What I want you to be aware of is that its location is 25 by 25, so that's the center. Since this was 50 by 50 when we made the terrain, 25 by 25 at 25 will give us the center. The Y value of 5 is how far above the terrain that the ball is. Okay, so now then I want to come to this terrain and I want to add some mountains. So let's see, I'm going to select terrain. Then over here under inspector in terrain, I'm going to use this first one. Now, if you have a later version of Unity, your 3 buttons here will be combined into one. I'll do a different video for that version of Unity. So for 2017, I'm going to click on the mountain button, and this lets you both raise and lower. A little button with only an up arrow is a little bit deceiving there. You pick whichever brush you want. This one works okay for what we're doing. This one gives a more realistic looking mountain. And there's all kinds of settings. We can put the mountains up there, then we can weather them with wind, with water. We're not going to go into that much detail. We just want something raised up above the surface that will direct the ball into a particular direction. Okay, so ball is there. I have selected mountains. I'm going to select one of these brushes, and I'm going to come in somewhere close to where the ball lies, and I'm going to start making mountains. Okay, now then, those are getting a little too high. I don't quite like that height on them. So I'm going to hold down the shift key while I click and drag, and that will reduce the size of the mountains that you have. Okay, I can't really tell for sure where that ball is going to fall. So I'm going to stop at this point and just see how close I came in placing my mountains. All right, so that's going, when I play this, it's going to move to the game view, and the game view follows the ball. So when I run this, it's going to be a little more difficult to see where that ball lands than I want it to be. Let's see, now mine is running slowly once we have done this. Okay, it's falling in the mountains, but I can't really tell where. It is bouncing around. But see, I can't really tell from this viewpoint what's happening with the ball. Okay, so I'm going to stop. And I'm going to make a change to how my screen is laid out. I would like to continue to see this view while the ball drops. So I'm going to take my game view and I'm going to drag it and place it elsewhere. And just anywhere that works for you is fine. I like having mine down well, just anywhere down here. So when I click on it, Okay, there's the game view. That'll show me what the ball is seeing. And notice the game view also has the little heads up display in it. Anyway, so let me do that. And when I play this again, now then I will continue to be able to see my scene. And I see that it's bouncing on the other side of this mountain. Well, is that the right direction or the wrong direction? Well, at this point, I don't know because I don't have my pathway laid out. So I'm going to do a pathway, and just pick, since this is the view I've got, I'm going to have it come out this direction and just flow over to the side. To do that, then I'll come back to terrain, which where I am, and I'm on the mountain button. I'm going to go over to the paintbrush. Okay, on the paintbrush right now I have only the one texture, so I'm going to edit textures, and I'll add a texture, and I'll click on select. Oh, it bounced me way over here, and I don't have any other textures. The only texture I have is the one that we used already, and I want a different texture. So we need to pull in some more textures on this. So for the moment, I'm going to cancel that out. Okay, to get more textures, it's not really that bad. Let's see, I'm going to go to, oh, which one is it? It's not that one, I know. Under assets, I'm going to import a package, and it gives me a list of packages. And the one I want to pick up a few more items, which will include some trees and stuff we can use, I'm going to import environment. And it's preparing the package, and this is going to take a few minutes. So however long this takes on yours, just have patience. Okay, here we go. Then there should be a pop-up screen that has showed up, and I'm not real sure whether or not that's going to show up on the video. I'll check it later. But anyway, environment has come up, everything is selected, and that's fine. Just click on the import button that you will see, and now it's importing package, and we're in a waiting mode on this. Depending upon your internet speed, the speed of your computer, and a whole bunch of other variables that we have no control over, we will sit here and wait. I hope I remember to clip this part out. Okay, and through the magic of editing, all right, mine have been loaded in, and I can use them now. If you see a couple of little warnings, we will just have to live with those. There's not much we're going to do about that. Okay, so let's now add in our pathway. To do that, we need a new texture. So after our download, we're going to edit texture. We're going to add a texture. We're going to click on select. And now then look at all that we have. This is what we got when we imported the environment package. All right, so one that you can use any that you want to. If you want a really weird color, go for it, that's fine. I'm just going to use something that I can see. So I'm going to go with the sand option. And so I select it, and then I click on add. Okay, now then, I want to add a pathway that's going to go over to the side. So be sure you select sand as your texture, or you'll just be painting the same thing on top of the terrain. All right, so I have a paintbrush. You need to select how big you think you want your path to be. Now I'm going to scroll in here so that I can see. And I want the path to be bigger than the ball is, okay? And right now, it doesn't look like it is. So I'm going to scoot this up a little. And notice I'm doing the drag on the brush size, or once you figure out what size you want, you can just type something in. I think I'm going to go with 40, so I'll just type in 40. Okay, now then, the ball lands behind this mountain. So I'm going to have to get rid of that mountain or do something with it. Anyway, so I'm going to start right here and say that this pathway is just going to kind of meander over here to the side somewhere and then fall off. And I'm doing that so it forces me to place mountains where I would like them to be. Okay, so there's the pathway that I'm going to follow. So back to the mountains. Okay, we are on terrain. Let's see, I can select project. Yeah, this is all. Okay, we can. And that is a fire alarm. Be right back. No, it's all okay. Wasn't a big. I'll be right back. Much better. Nothing better than a fresh shower, fresh clothes, and a fire extinguisher to help you out. So I'm going to share the screen and we'll pick back up where we left off. So sharing my Unity screen, and there we go. All right, now on this Unity screen, we have some mountains put in. We have the ball placed. I was playing with these particular mountains to try to get the right location for them. Let's see if I can continue on with that then. Let's see. Yeah, okay. All right. All right, back to sharing our screen. All right, these little arrows are there because we have this chosen. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to go up here and choose the select. And now those little things went away. I can click on terrain. I can click on the mountain. And I'm going to take this mountain down. That'll be a shift. And just a second. Really? Go ahead. Just try it again. Really? Yeah, I thought not. Going to try to reduce these mountains down, and I'll hold the shift key while I click and drag, and those just kind of go away. All right, and then what I'll need to do is grow a mountain back here so it'll kick it out into this. Let's try that. No, that's not where I want it either, so shift and take it back down. This little guy was close. So just a little at a time. Okay, and try to bring him kind of across a little bit level. Okay, now then, I'm looking down here in the bottom right-hand corner and notice that Unity is trying to catch up with all the things I told it to do. So I'm going to give it a moment here and let it finish what it's doing, and then we will continue on. Okay, so now then it appears everything has finished, and I'm going to see what happens with the ball. And hopefully, here we go. Yeah, see, now it's starting down the right path. And I nearly got lucky. So stop that. And the thing to notice is it was bouncing along pretty good, but it was really not in the path in 2 or 3 places. So what I would want to do is grow some mountains there and just make sure the ball keeps in the path as it bounces along to the edge. Now, I'll let you finish that up. At this point, you should have created enough mountains to let the ball bounce and run along the path. That's going to be our starting point on this. Now, for the texture, yeah, these are not the most believable mountains in the world, but again, there's lots of options on that, and I'll leave that for another study. Right now, I want to take a look at how do I go around putting trees in the terrain. Okay, well, I'm going to do this again by selecting terrain, by going over, and this time instead of paintbrush, we're going to select paint trees. I'll click on it, and here it tells me again, click to paint trees, hold shift and click to erase trees. And there's some more options if we're only going to add one type of tree. So this third option will really not be pertinent to us. Okay, so under trees, it tells us no trees defined. This is just like our textures were a while ago. So we're going to go to edit trees, add a tree, and this gives us a slightly different looking way to add in what we're after. So in this, a couple of ways to do it, but whenever you see a little bullseye right there in Unity, try clicking on it and see what it does. So I'm going to click on that bullseye, and it brings up my options for the types of trees. And since this is Colorado, I'm going to go with the conifer tree. And once I have selected the conifer tree and it tells me conifer desktop, I'm going to come over here to add, and I now have a tree that I can work with. Okay, now then notice that the blue area, the screen has a blue tint to it. That's the area where it's going to try to place trees. Now you can do a mass place trees. I'll let you play with that later on. But what I wish to do is plant trees a few at a time. So I'm going to change my brush size down to a lot smaller. Okay, let's go with about 15. And notice, there we go. That's showing us, that's still a lot of area to be painting trees. Okay, so I'll take that down a little bit more. Let's go to about, oh, there's a 7. Let's see what that is. Okay, we're getting, we can work with that. All right. So at this point, I'm going to click and see what kind of trees I wind up with. And I got one ugly looking tree, and I'm going to back way off. And you can see that tree is much too big for the terrain that I have built. Okay, so I've got to be able to do something about that, and I can. I'm going to come over here to tree, and it says tree height and random, but there's the range that it's going to do. Well, I need a much smaller tree. So I'm going to come over here and pull size down as far as it will go. Okay, now then, let's go back to tree. There we go. All right, and I'm going to see if a shift click will get rid of the tree, and it did. Okay, so I'm going to come back and try to add some trees in, and let's see what we get, and then we'll decide on density. So I'm going to come over here and click again, and I got one tree, and that's as small as I can get. That'll do. Okay, so now I've got one tree out there. Poor tree. Okay, so I'm going to come through now, and I'm going to click and drag. There we go. And notice it's now populating that with trees of varying sizes. Okay, I'm going to try to keep the trees off of the pathway. And so we've kind of got a forested area over here. Let's see. If I want better control up here around these hills and mountaintops, then I'm going to change my brush size down. Let me change it to 2 and see what I get. Okay, that's workable here. All right, so let's try putting some trees right where this hill is. Okay, I got one tree right on top. Okay, and now it's starting to give me some more trees. And I can just go through and add. And let's see, so I keep holding down and adding trees and adding trees. Okay, so that's looking all right. Now then I'm going to back off of this and see what it looks like. And I believe, yeah, here we go. All right, Unity again is trying to finish up several things that I just gave it to do by adding in these trees. So I'm going to sit here and wait patiently on it, let it do its thing, so hopefully it will not crash on us. Right now it looks like it's just about locked up, but we will see. Yeah, I'm getting some progress now. So it's taking a while. I may leave this whole segment, we'll try not to shorten this segment, just so you get an idea of how long you should be pausing to keep your Unity from crashing on you. Now, one of the things you'll find when you start adding mountains and start adding trees and then run it, if you add 2 or 3 trees and run it and then add a bunch of trees and run it, you're going to wind up crashing this thing. Okay, so be very patient with it. Looks like it got through down there. All right, so let me back out now away from, there we go. And I'm going to spin this a little bit maybe. Okay, drag this over. Right now I'm just wanting to get a little better look at what's happening. Yeah, I can get a little higher top-down look. And I could use a bunch more trees over there. That's just a little grove of trees is all that is. Okay, I'm double checking. Unity isn't trying to finish anything. So I will go back into trees. And let's try the mass place trees. And this will work for your entire terrain area that you have defined. Okay, and when I do, it gives me an option. And the option is, how many trees do you want to put out there? Well, for my small area, with me having trees out there already, I don't believe I want 10,000 trees. That's going to be a few too many. Let me just try 1,000 and place them. And that's a nice forested area with some hills. I've got some trees right on top of some hills, which I kind of like. Let's get in here and get a better look though, and make sure our trail is still free for the ball to run through. So again, going to do a little bit of maneuvering to see. And I'm afraid I may have yeah, it's getting, I'm afraid I got my trail covered up. So let's see. Okay, and move back a little. Okay, adjust my camera view again. Okay, so I can get up high enough I can see this, and then I'll go back into it. At this point, I can also get a pretty good look for the hills that I was creating. But scrolling back in, and again, with this many trees, this many mountains, everything's changing every time I scroll. You can very easily exceed the capabilities of your computer. All right, so I see some trees in here that are in the way. So the way we got rid of them is that you hold the shift key down. Let's see, we've got to select our tree button. Okay, and we're going to hold the shift key down, and I see one tree right there. Let's see, let me take my brush size down to just 1. Okay, so maybe I can get to 1 tree at a time. I'm going to shift and click, and he's gone. Okay, that one's also in the way, so that one's gone. And I'm going to come through here and get rid of these. The blue circle has to be at their base for this to work. Okay, we're getting there. All right, here's another one. Let's get rid of it. I can't see because of these trees right here. So we're going to take them out. And there's another one. Okay, and I can see that my pathway wanders over this way. Well, here's something right in the way. So let's get it out, and I'll get rid of these. Oh, okay. Hey, there is a pathway in there. All right, and it just kind of wiggles around. And let's see, I think that one's also in the way. These are along the edge. I'll live with that. These seem to be in the way. And all I'm doing is holding down the shift key and clicking on this and getting rid of the trees that wound up when I did that mass placement. And these all wound up in the pathway. So they've just got to go. Sorry, trees, progress, you know how it is. Okay, let's get rid of these on this side right here. I don't think they're helping anything. Maybe I can get rid of that guy. Here we go. All right, now that I can take a look, okay, there's a couple right at the beginning that are in the way. A couple of these now I can tell are sitting in the path, not beside it. And I believe, yep, there's one right there. Okay, and just taking my time and going through, and what I'm doing is clearing the pathway so that the ball can run through just like it's supposed to. And get rid of one more right there. And now I can see my original pathway, which has some little crooks in it and will fall off. And that, of course, I'm going to have to go back and rerun because the tree, the ball right now may run right through those trees. So that's something we'll look at a future one. But if you have your game to this point, before you run it, anytime before you run it, if you've made changes and you think you like those changes, then you best go through and save it because Unity will start crashing on you. So I'm going to save scenes and then I'm going to come back and save the project. Okay, now at this point, if this thing breaks, I should be okay if it dies. So I didn't get enough mountains in for mine to stay. Let's see what happens with the trees. They'll run this thing. Yeah, I'm just kind of bouncing off out of the way. And it is hitting the trees, so we are having interaction with the trees. Anyway, so play with this enough, you can still get the ball to bounce through. And let's see, let me stop this. Okay, and the blue out there is because we're working with the trees, and that's where it would work. Okay, get it this far along, get your mountains in there, get the trees out of the way, make sure the ball flows down the pathway, and you will have completed this part of the ball run, and this is ball run 3.